I'd now like to actually give a very warm welcome to Aisha and Yasser, who are joining us today. I'll share a brief intro. Aisha Sarwari is co-founder of the Women's Advancement Hub that supports grassroots women and helps tell women's stories across Pakistan. The NGO works to reform all sections of society by passing on the mic to women to tell their own stories. She is also the author of 3 published books, a globally acclaimed public speaker, and is a diversity advocate. She believes the world is a better place with more leadership representation of women of color and people from various socioeconomic and other excluded backgrounds. Aisha is also a caregiver. Yasser Hamdani is a corporate and constitutional lawyer with a keen interest in digital rights, a barrister of Lincoln's Inn holding an LLM and an LLB. He studied economics at Rutgers University in 2002, an Asia Society Fellow, and a Harvard University Law and Human Rights Fellow. He's participated in some notable constitutional and technology cases in Pakistan in the early days of digital rights legislation in Pakistan. As an in-house counsel, Yasser Hamdani served Pakistan's largest telecom company, Jazz, and the government-owned telecom company, Ufone. He is also an author of a widely acclaimed book by Pan Macmillan called Jinnah, A Life. He's a contributing author to The Print, Dawn, Daily Times, Express Tribune, Pakistan Today, The Hindu, India Today, Tony Blair Foundation, and Jinnah Institute. As you can see, Yasser is a superhuman. Today, Yasser and Aisha will speak from the perspective of a brain tumor warrior and a caregiver. I'd like to welcome them.
Thank you so much, Komal. First of all, let me just say that having somebody like you, somebody feisty and amazing and so cause-driven is an honor. And let me also say that Dr. Athar Anam's inclusion of us and our story in this is a huge honor for us as well. Yesterday, we were out for a date after months and months of the troubles, the challenges of having a brain tumor in the family. And Yasser was spotting Dr. Athar Anam everywhere. So we were having lunch and he's like, that's Dr. Athar Anam. And I would look back and I'm like, no, it's not Dr. Athar Anam. And he would be like, no, that's him. I need to go say hi to him. And I'm like, no, that's not him. So our entire, we both bow down to the altar of Dr. Athar Anam, the science that you all practice and the kindness with which, this very complex and horrible disease, we got a chance to, I think, in my opinion, prolong Yasser's life, not his death. And in 2017, when Yasser first had his grand mal seizure, without adequate care and guidance, we could have not ended up here in 2021. So I want Yasser to talk about his part, and then we will tell you a little about how messed up and dysfunctional we are.
Well, it's very nice to meet you all. I'm sorry I couldn't join you last year. I was not feeling like that because I was out of the surgery and so on and so forth. But the thing is that I would like to say that between 2017, when my first surgery happened in 2017, and then the second surgery in 2020, I managed to do a number of things, and I had enough energy to do a number of things, which I didn't do, which I couldn't have done otherwise. So there was also sort of a wake-up call that you got to go and get whatever you need to get or you want to get. So for me, that was the real wake-up call, both surgeries. And just to give you an example, I even did the English bar after the second surgery. So I think that was then right afterwards, it was like a month later. And this is because Dr. Anam is a real miracle worker. And, I often tell people that I didn't even have to shave my head in order to get a surgery, which is what happened. the only bald spot or bald patch I have is because of the radiation. Now, just coming to the issues that one faces. There are issues. I find myself less articulate when talking about things, and less I have problems writing, which was something that I used to do very easily before the surgery. So that's happening more with the second surgery. It didn't happen with the first surgery. So that's something that I've faced a challenge with. Otherwise, I find myself in a good place right now. And while there are challenges, I have work challenges, I sleep during the day, but I think those are related to some of the meds and some of the, things like chemotherapy and whatnot. So that, I think, is where I am, and I think Aisha can continue because she's a better place to talk about caregiver and more eloquent, as it were.
Also, Yasser is not recently eloquent because he decided to upgrade his books by having braces because he felt that, thankfully now that he has more life, why not have a better jawline? So very invested in his books as well. As you can see, I am very suspicious about who he's doing it for because I love him anyway, and I've been saving his life with Dr. Al-Qaidam for a while, but I think he's out to impress somebody. But I wanted to just, perhaps talk about the dysfunction. And I mentioned that we should really be honest about what a brain tumor does to a family. Honestly, since 2017, life has never been like it was. Whatever we knew to be the truth is no longer the truth. Whatever we knew to be our coping strategies never worked. Whatever we felt we had in terms of assets were not really our assets. Whatever we thought were our liabilities just multiplied. It almost felt like quicksand. Everything sort of slipped from our grasp. Financially, psychologically, our relationship has, I think, suffered tremendously. Our marriage has suffered. Our relationship to our children, both individually and as parents, has suffered. Our relationship with our parents, I think, has been problematic as well. I think it's just really, it's like, you're in the orbit, just going around your axis, and then something just torpedoes you off your axis, and you're free flowing into, some place you have no idea where. And you can hope that you don't collide, but you do collide. You keep knocking into things. It's quicksand, particularly for the caregiver, because it's like I experience pain in 5 dimensions. Whenever Yasser isn't all right, and I'll give you an example. About a week ago, I got a call from my daughter because she said Yasser's not waking up. So I'm here in my home office, and I took the car keys and I ran, and my other daughter's with me because she's doing her O-level final. So the two of us kind of cordon off on this side of the house to get some quiet time. And I ran and I went to the basement. I got my car out and I'm driving to Yasser, thinking, okay, this is the day. This is the day he's gone. And I'm trying to kind of do a general calculation on funeral prayer, COVID, SOPs. And when I come out of the parking lot, my daughter is at the road. So imagine me and what's going on in my head, but imagine her being so high alert that the moment she heard that I was leaving and I was running, she just automatically knew there was him. And she then ran her way down the stairs of the apartment onto the main road. We left the door open, jumped into the, I saw her and we just jumped into the car. It was very 007, we were at the other house, ASAP, went upstairs. I had the sense to grab a Gatorade on my way there. And so my other daughter, I have 2 daughters. My other daughter was next to Yasser upstairs, and I looked at him and he was awake by then. And I said, what's going on? And he said, not good, don't feel right. And, just made him sip some Gatorade. But it was like, every time he doesn't die, you know, every time he comes back to me from some ICU or some moment of a close call, it's very strange. It's almost like I start grieving for him even when he's here, because there's so many times I have to prepare myself for the shoe to drop that it becomes very hard for me to deal with him when he's here. And I think it just, grief is a very strange creature. It turns you into a different human being, and we live with it like 24/7. The entire family has that over our heads, and sometimes I'm not well, or sometimes the kids are not well, or sometimes his mom isn't well, but it's like all of us are just waiting to exhale just so that we can get some kind of guarantee that, this man that we, all are devoted to, all the women in his life, 5 of them, just, that we can just have some guarantee that he will stay, and the depression, I think, is something we need to talk about. The depression and the anxiety. Yasser has obsessive compulsive disorder where it will manifest itself in any form, and the pain is so acute, the manifestations are so crazy, for example, I'll say something to him and he will say, do not pronounce it like that, pronounce it like this. And then he will go and repeat the word over and over and over again. So I think last time it was like he was repeating the word slit and split. So he was repeating it over and over and over and over again. And it's kind of like humor helps us, but like then I had to put a rubber band around his wrist, and every time he would say it, I would snap it, because we were just out of ideas. Like after 4 hours, he just kept saying it. And so then he was like, okay, I get the whole and I don't know if it works. Like half of the stuff we throw at him as life-saving stuff is probably not that great. But the depression, the anxiety, the fact that you have to show up to work every day for me, you have to ready yourself for that day, and that you have to just continue to love despite all of it, is a problem. And I think that with anger, with depression and anxiety comes a lot of anger towards the state for cutting so much of my taxes, and anger towards my overall family for the sense of isolation we sometimes feel, and anger towards the healthcare system for not figuring out the exact dosage of the meds so that I'm not always fainting or sick or unwell, or it's hard, and we are very privileged to have the vocabulary and the storytelling and the access that we do. I think Yasser has been writing numerous emails to Dr. Athar, and we've always received a response. And it's not just been a response, it's been a holistic psychotherapy session along with medical care, including movie recommendations. So we are really up there in terms of we are getting globally best in class help, but it's still inadequate.
Well, I think, I totally get what you're talking about, and the effect it has had on you. It's terrible what you've had to go through. But thank you for standing by me, and thank you for doing what you've done. There's not once, but you've done it twice. So that is extraordinary. And I think wherever I go, people, the first thing people point out is that you're really lucky to have a wife like that. So yeah, and as far as sort of the healthcare goes, I think Khan University is, that's one of the best in the world. I find it extraordinary that at least we have this institution in Pakistan. I wish this could be extended to all citizens and not just the privileged of the privileged, as it were. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I think we can sort of discuss more later.
Komal, I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much to both of you. I actually can't thank you both enough for your courage and your willingness to share and to let us step into your personal lives for even a moment, and to have this window to understand. I can entirely relate your story, and as you were speaking, Aisha, took me back to 2012 when I was a caregiver myself and brought tears to my eyes. But I think for everyone here who was not in either of our or Yasser's shoes will also be able to experience exactly what you're sharing. So I'd like to thank both of you for actually even coming. Yasser, thank you for joining as well. I know this was hard for you as well, but thank you very much to both of you.